It brings up this obscure play, and Picard's like, Data was rehearsing a play of HMS Pitiful just
Which is
before he left.
conveniently loaded into the shuttle.
Our British tar is a soaring soul, as free as a mountain bird. His energetic fist. I don't know the rest of the words, but you guys get the point. Yeah.
Well,
I need to bring up the lyrics so I can follow it along.
should have prepared.
Yeah.
Well, next week is our last Lower Deck stream, so perhaps you can surprise us with a song.
Perhaps I will surprise you with a tune.
It's Tom Jones! No.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Trek Central's gone so big, we've got Tom Jones on. If anybody knows the reference I'm making, right? I can't remember is it Flushed Away? It might be that film I'm trying to reference.
I think it's Flushed Away.
It's the one where women just run like, it's Tom Jones! Anyway, everyone, welcome to Trek Central Live. It's the 4th of October, and we are discussing Star Trek Lower Decks, Episode 9, Crisis Point. Of course, this week was our holodeck episode, or one of them in a way. This is more focused on the holodeck rather than the whole Badgie episode we had a couple of weeks ago. However, this week is all on the holodeck, and it was quite fun, to be honest there. A great 9th episode, and of course, next week is our last episode of Season 1 of Star Trek Lower Decks. We'll be theorising out in the end towards this stream. However, in the meantime, I'm of course joined by my co-host this evening, Mr. Ketwolski. How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And Dom, how are you?
Well, yes, I'm in a different room.
Once again, you've materialised in a different room.
Yeah. He's a nomad.
Yeah.
Why roll? And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this great penultimate episode.
Are you sure you're not on holodeck and you just keep coming out of different rooms every week? I think that's what's going on. It makes a lot more sense.
I think that's exactly what's going on. I think we should be playing a game of where in the world is Dominic.
Jonathan Frakes says, "Where am I now?" Dom's going to start doing that.
I like that.
We're just going to get a video of Dom driving a tractor in the middle of a field nowhere, cutting some corn. It's like, where am I now? In my backyard? Get out.
What we need to do is, because you guys are so geographically located, relatively speaking, we should do one where Dom is like just sitting in a room, and then Jack, you just kind of like walk in for a second and then walk out, but then don't address it at all. That's it.
He's walking in wearing a Star Wars shirt. It's clearly off-brand. I say that. My background for this stream is the Elusive Man setup from, Mass Effect 2. So, yeah. Anyway, hello, chat. I hope you're doing well tonight. Welcome to Trek Central Live. Obviously, we're great to see you here. I see a lot of you here. Godspeed. I love this one. It's one of our members has renamed it. Do you know Dr. Tanana in the episode goes, Godspeed, you crazy fucks. And it's like, as they walk off, I'm like, I love that bit. Give me more Dr. Tanana. I love
that member changes their name like every week for each episode.
It's great. I just Godspeed, you crazy fucks. I'm like, but
I
also
loved it.
My favorite part from episode 9. Before we jump into it, my favorite part had to be Shax going, "Don't talk to me, I'm pissed off." I'm like, that's like the best Shax moment any. But before we do dive into our thoughts on this week's episode, a couple of tidbits of information in case you missed it in the last week. The Star Trek world is still moving. We've got New York Comic Con, or the online version, as to expect, coming later this week. That's obviously New York Comic Con's metaverse. Star Trek's turning up. There's a ton of things coming up there. We're going to be live streaming on that day, so tune in on Thursday after our Lower Decks review to check out myself and the TC team discussing what's to come from that day. We'll be live reacting to it, so right here. And I think we're kicking off. Are we doing it 4:30 BST? Is it? Because it kicks off at 5, doesn't it? I think so. I don't know.
We're doing 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think
we'll do a 30-minute before pre-show, then it's an hour after show we're doing as well, isn't it? And roughly an hour. And we'll see how it goes. Yeah. So if you want to tune in and watch the New York Comic Con event of us, the event will go live, or we'll set it up as a reminder this probably Tuesday, so you've got a fair enough advantage. If you can't make it, don't worry, you'll be able to watch it afterwards, or you can take a look at our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for coverage throughout the day. So that is on Thursday, is it the 9th? No, it's the 8th, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. And I will quickly run through what's coming up there. So I believe we've got Lower Decks turning up, and of course this will be on the final day of Lower Decks, which is pretty interesting because it airs on the 8th, which is Lower Decks' 10th and final episode, which will be pretty interesting as that is season 1. Now we've also got a few more things to expect from this. Star Trek Discovery will be turning up, and also surprise guests will be arriving. Now the producers of Star Trek Prodigy, the upcoming animated show which is set to take place on Nickelodeon, the producers have also teased they might be turning up as well. So keep an eye out for that, as there's been no confirmation of that from the official Star Trek stuff. However, they did tweet and react to it, suggesting they might turn up to that. So keep an eye out for it, as that could be pretty interesting. Other than that, we don't really know what's coming of that. Obviously, it will be 1 week before Star Trek Discovery as well. Whether another trailer is to come is unlikely, but I'd expect maybe to see a bit of teasers of what to expect, or maybe some cast interviews. This will be the final event and talk show before Season 3 of Discovery airs officially. As a quick reminder, Star Trek Discovery Season 3 will air on Netflix here in the UK and internationally on October 16th. Well, 16th, I think it is. Yep, 16th. And then it'll air on CBS All Access and CTV Sci-Fi /Crave in Canada on October 15th for all of you guys over there. Just keep that in mind. Netflix is the international distributor. They're not going anywhere just yet. And of course, we'll be live with our review on that Thursday as well. That's all the Star Trek news this week. Before I do forget, if you were planning on going to Destination Star Trek, the UK convention, that is now cancelled as of this year and has been rescheduled to next year. Keep that in mind. If you're still thinking of going to Star Trek Las Vegas, that's still on, though personally we won't advise that one. It's really up to you. However, you make your own mind up on that one. But Destination Star Trek here in the UK is cancelled and that is scheduled to next year. So Godspeed. We do hope to see many of you there next year when everything's safer and hopefully people can get together and celebrate Star Trek in person once again. Well, gentlemen, that's enough for me talking today in such a long way, as I expected time to give you some talking. But Dom, starting with this because you fell asleep and forgot to watch the Lower Decks episode in the morning. What did you think of the episode?
Well, that's not an indication of what I thought of the episode. I didn't fall asleep while watching it. I really enjoyed this. I thought episode 8 was my favorite, and then this came out and completely smashed it. Completely surpassed my expectation of what this like film parody of an episode would be. It was filled with references and Easter eggs to previous Trek movies, and also very good development for Mariner as a character, and sets up the season finale next week, which I'm definitely looking forward to. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode.
Awesome. And Nick, what about yourself?
Another fantastic episode. I agree with Dom. We talked a little bit about this last week, and I mentioned it in my review video as well, which is it very is clearly, obvious now that they have found their quote unquote space legs, and they figured out they've got a solid formula here, and they introduced it to us last week with the 4 of the main cast members mixing very well with each other and being a part of the plot while not feeling bogged down or slow, and also still being able to touch point into the bridge crew. They did the exact same thing in this episode, but even amped it up more, which is the Lower Decks crew. Each of them had like little moments throughout the entire episode. And then, of course, we still got a great mix of the bridge crew. And obviously, this is another Mariner Mother type situation where that's definitely kind of the focus, but this one definitely allowed Boimler to have his moments, Rutherford had his moments, and then also even Tendi, even though she had a shorter moment than the other 3, she also had a very powerful and impactful moment in regards to the whole Orion thing, which I really want to talk about as well. But yeah, overall, this episode was just a knockout of the park again, and I'm becoming more sad as we get closer to the 10th episode, which is coming up this week, because now we have to wait I don't know how long we're gonna have to wait, but yeah, probably another year before it comes out, and it makes me sad because I really want to see more. I want more of this. So yeah, I love it.
So before, obviously, we'll be talking a lot about what we expect from episode 10, our speculation of it towards the end of the stream. But you just brought up that moment with Tendi. I think we should talk about that, to begin with, as that really stuck out to me as well. But before I do, I really love this episode. I find it hilarious, and I think it's one of the best and most strongest episodes for Lower Decks so far. You can start with the ratings as well. I don't know if you guys have seen, but obviously the ratings, which you should sometimes take with a pinch of salt, they've been steadily going up as the series goes along, which is interesting because typically of Star Trek, the first season of any show isn't the strongest. You've seen it of Next Gen. Some people argue Enterprise Season 1 isn't the best, but I don't happily fight from over it. It's like that. But Lower Decks, people seem to be loving it from the get-go, which is really good. But let's talk about the Tendi moment for right now. And I presume you're referencing a moment where she basically backfires towards Mariner and goes, not all Orions are like slavers, pirates, da-da-da-da. Now, I feel like that was... it also is meant to be like a comedy thing as well, but at the same time, I feel like it was teaching one of Trek's core values of you shouldn't judge a person by the action of a group of others, or judge a species by the act of a group of others. Not only is that very true in a sense of Star Trek, and we've seen that many times throughout Trek's history, it's also very reflective of what's currently going on in the world around us and has been going on for the last 20, 30 years. There's individuals and groups out here, and I won't name for the sake of it, who do certain things, and then people of certain religions or race or species, etc., they get judged because of that group's actions. But Nick, obviously you have some thoughts about it. What do you think of that moment?
I thought it was a fantastic way to, because a lot of people like to complain that Discovery and Picard, when it comes to their social lessons that they try to teach, which Star Trek has always kind of been good, sci-fi in general, it always is for that. They've been a little bit too on the nose. They've been a little bit too obvious. They've been a little bit too, like right in your face. Where in this situation with Tendi, it was kind of just like there was all of this stuff going on, and they kind of just stuck it right in there to have a moment, not only as it kind of a reflection of what Mariner is doing, which is kind of being kind of crazy, but also the attitude of why are you judging me based off of, other people's actions? That's not who I am. That's not me. That's not who I am. Like, don't judge me that way. And don't judge all Orions in that way. Even though she even acknowledges it at the end where she's like, there are a lot of Orions who are that way. And that's okay to acknowledge that there's bad Orions that are doing kind of, traditionally bad things. But there's also okay to acknowledge that there's good Orions that are trying to be better and do different things. And that's why she even says there where she's like, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm in Starfleet. I'm not hanging out with my Orion brothers. And honestly, I feel like that also connects back to Rom from Deep Space Nine in a lot of ways, because he was also trying to rebut that stereotype of Ferengis. And Tendi's just trying to rebut that stereotype of Orions. And yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, like this is obviously connected a lot to, you can kind of connect it to a lot of different things, whether it be a religious type thing, gender type things, occupational. We have a lot of issues with certain occupations and people being judged for individual actions being applied to the larger group. It's a very common thing that's happening, especially in the United States. And it was a very subtle, very just kind of little social lesson that they wanted to add into it, which I thought was great. I thought it was perfect. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, it really stuck out to me as well. Like, so as soon as I recognised it, that is like a core Trek point in a way where it's teaching or like amplifying a message. I can't think of perfect examples off the top of my head, but we've seen it in Trek before where, certain individuals shouldn't be judged by the acts of others, etc.
Well, I'll definitely say from going from like TNG to DS9, in TNG, the Ferengi were very villainized.
Yeah.
And that was like their only trait. They were quite two-dimensional in that regard. And then DS9 came out and it was like, not all Ferengi are like that,
Right.
Even though Quark is still a Ferengi, he's still a nice guy. And I think it's great that Lower Decks is doing this with a species like the Orions, like what Nick said. And I really liked that Tendi called Mariner out on it and was like, that's not cool of you. And then later Mariner was like, yeah, I was being kind of a jerk. I'm sorry. So yeah, I felt it was really well done in this episode. And some great development for Tendi.
For sure. And it's another really good thing here was actually we got two big things there, which was we had Mariner apologizing to both Tendi and her mom, which I thought was really great, very powerful lessons there. And then also the situation there, not only was it like the larger, political, socio-economical and kind of perception of Orion culture that was being layered onto Tendi, but also as her friend. It was a bit of a peer pressure moment where, she kind of threw her into that position and she was like, I kind of want to play along. I don't want to be a stick in the mud. We're having some fun here, but I really don't like what we're doing. And she did it like the first time, which was a bit of a peer pressure kind of moment. And then when she wanted her to do it again, she was like, no, like this is like, I don't want to do this, And I thought that was another really great lesson. I thought like, obviously I think maybe in some regards, more of adult audience maybe doesn't necessarily identify with that. But this was, as you mentioned earlier, Jack, this was TV-14. So it's still geared towards a teenager audience in some regards. And teenagers are the ones that deal with a lot of that peer pressure stuff. Teenagers and young adults deal with that. And I thought that was another just like a very simple lesson. And the fact that we saw the resolution of that, of Tendi acknowledging what was the realities of situation, and then Mariner also apologizing to her friend and taking accountability for doing the wrong thing there. I thought it was great. I really did. I thought it was a very great moment.
Star Trek is once again delivering that core message, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And in a fun way. Like it was a very entertaining episode, but that was almost able to be kind of like encapsulated and didn't weigh down the rest of the funny narrative of the mockery of all the
because it's kind of like
films.
Hard to do. Thinking if we like look at Next Generation, there would have been a whole 3-minute long Picard speech about why that was not a good thing to do, which is fine in the context of the show. And we all loved like Jean-Luc Picard's speeches because Sir Patrick Stewart delivers them so brilliantly. However, in Lower Decks, that wouldn't work. It would only work for fan service, which we'd appreciate, but your average viewer who's come for the comedy value and the enjoyability value wouldn't really be a key of that. So there, the writers really had a hard task of delivering that core message, but still keeping into the comedy and sort of fun value that Lower Decks is trying to push forward, if that makes sense. And I think that's one thing that should really be recognised there, is the writing prowess of that, to keep it all together in the context and format of the show.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it is a challenge, right? It's that's why I say like they've really clearly hit their stride right now with their formula and how they're approaching this, and they're able to really start to layer in some of these more subtle social messages, and also still exploring plots with all of the characters, including the bridge crew, and also still entertaining us with wild, crazy references and visuals and fun action, you know, and jokes and stuff. It's not easy. It's not fucking easy. I would not want to be in the writer's room.
No,
like that's a hard thing to do. It's hard.
It always amazes me when people say, "Oh, yeah, I could write Star Trek," but I'm like, I wouldn't even. I like writing sci-fi for my channel, but Christ, I would not attempt doing this. It'd be a nightmare.
No, definitely not. Yeah, so
definitely
a challenging episode.
Speaking about references, like just quickly sidetracking there, what big references we get this week? I'm struggling to think any off the top of my head. What big references we get?
Oh gosh, I mean,
so I would say the entire episode was kind of.
Obviously, the movie ones in a way. That would be a good thing.
Movie in a sense, but also to the Barclay holodeck episode. I think it was Hollow Pursuits.
Hollow Pursuits, yeah.
He used the holodeck in a different way. He used it more as like to experience stuff which he wasn't getting, but he used it to deal with issues that he was having in the same way that Mariner is. And I thought that was the overarching reference alongside the movie stuff. But there was a lot of different references to mainly all the movies, apart from like Insurrection and a couple of others. So like the ship flyby very beginning.
I love
like
that.
2 minutes. I think the Mike McMahon said that they had asked for extra budget just to extend that scene. However long it went on, because the motion picture one goes on forever. This one does too. But it's great.
This one does too, in a good way though. Like it's a perfect joke, and then and what's his nuts is crying.
It spins around. It's like you can catch it's going on and taking the piston away. But I love that bit where you've got the chief engineer Andy Blips just crying there, and Ransom like patting him on the shoulder. I'm like, it's so cliche but hilarious at the same time. Also, as TJ's put in the chat, the music this week, fantastic. They really blew that out of the park there. One other reference as well is just interrupting you with Dom, was also the titles coming out and hitting Boimler on the head there. Very classic titles for Star Trek movies, and also at the very end of the episode, notice how they had the for instance signing their names off. Again, a reference to the undiscovered country where the cast sign off.
It's beautiful that Boimler uses a delta to.
Oh, does he? I didn't catch that.
Yep, it's a little tiny delta, which of course he would. Of course he would, right? I mean, of course
he would.
Yeah, that's a standard thing. I really did like the sweeping shots as they were loading up to the Cerritos was fantastic. I loved the film grain that they added to the majority of the episode, and they had like the little pops in the corner for the different reels.
What was also great about the film grain was when Tendi left the holodeck, you could see how different the holodeck looked compared to outside. So like the aspect ratio was completely different, and it was like just those little details just made it beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I know. I agree, and it's it was just a beautifully well done episode. And the references. I love the glare. There's a couple of really fantastic references that I caught. Like I'm getting very excited right now. So like there was two that really caught me, which were Star Trek Generation references in my mind. Which is they were doing the lens flare on the bridge, but I liked how when they were in the bridge, it was all much darker throughout the entire ship, which is, I think, a cue back to Generations where they redid the lighting of the Enterprise D bridge to make it more movie, and it was like all this dark colored tones and everything. And then also, obviously, the ship crashing, which is another reference to Generations, and it just smashed. And I like how it rolled away instead of kind of just landing flat. I took that as a reference
to Beyond as well, Star Trek Beyond, the Kelvin movie. Because in Beyond, the Enterprise launches in there, then they fight on the saucer, and the saucer's upturned up until it, the thrusters fire and it crashes into it, etc., killing the spy woman.
Talking about Kelvin movies and that, on the bridge you can hear the Kelvin beep.
Yep.
Which is in the opening of 09.
Nice, okay.
It was something I picked up on, I think, my second watch.
Yeah.
But the sound effects and especially the music of this episode, I forgot who does the music for this show, but how they were able to mix in the movie music, so especially the looking at the ship, with the Lower Decks theme, I think I heard was
absolutely
exquisite.
Yeah.
And going back to thinking that they did that individually, like all the orchestra sections were done
yes, that's one thing to keep a note of.
individually, and yet, I mean, it might have been different for this, like combining previous music to the Lower Decks music.
Right,
But
yeah.
if this was done individually orchestrated, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Yeah.
All the
agree.
music this episode was insane.
There was another Beyond reference too, where when Vindicta's little ship kind of smashes into the inside
does it kill
of
two
the
ensigns
Cerritos.
as well?
Yes, and it kills our one man,
Winston being
United
a
Federation of Characters.
Yeah. Which you can, when Mariner is typing out like the script, which she types out extremely fast,
Yes.
but we'll deal with that. It's probably just the computer like auto-generating it.
It was auto-correcting. It was auto-filling it.
Yeah. Because obviously Winger Bingston Jr. would have written about it in his private logs, and then the computer would have read that and put it in. But just that being referenced in the script, but also when Shax gets out his massive gun.
Is that a euphemism?
Described... No.
No.
We know how much of a fan you are of Shax, Dom. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I can't wait until I get my Shax standee, and then.
Yeah, Nicholas, when's that coming, huh?
Maybe it's coming soon. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I don't know what house to send it to because Dom keeps moving everywhere. So
that's a fair point.
Figure that out. Yeah.
I'll look after your Shax for a couple of weeks. Just stick him in here. There's enough space.
But the gun is described as a movie budget weapon in the script, which I just find hilarious because actually that might be a Generations reference from the fact that like Worf gets out a bazooka.
That was an insurrection.
I mean,
yeah, where he has the purple space bazooka. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he launches
that
it.
Must be a
launches
reference
a shot.
to that because there were just so many.
And it doubly worked there because it was not only a play up on how the budgets for things kind of go upwards for movies as opposed to television shows, but also it was a play a little bit on Shax's personal log, he probably has personal logs where he talks about wanting big fucking laser guns that can shoot through everything. You know what I mean? So it kind of just extrapolated all of that, and put it all together.
Captain wouldn't let me fire the phasers again. And I love a point there. And I'm going to make a tweet of this in a week where it's like, don't talk to me, I'm pissed off. I'm like, wow, it's actually super accurate.
I had that conversation with him an hour ago.
Yeah, that bit, I had a conversation with an hour ago. And also, my other favourite bit, I said at the start of the stream, Dr. Tanana's like, as soon as Billups and Rutherford go off to like start their adventure, Tanana sometimes goes, Godspeed, you crazy fucks. And it's like, that's fantastic. I love this one, honestly.
Yeah, I loved it. And then I loved the follow-up, like the end joke to that, which is when they're in the bar and they cut to Billups and he's like just eating his soup, like really sad looking, like just kind of sitting there eating his little soup or whatever. Yeah, he's just so cool.
Yeah, it's like, it's great. Okay, you're the only one who sees that.
We've gotten a lot of Billups.
I thought he'd be like a just a recurring character, like he'd pop in the background, but they've made a bigger thing out of him. Or whether he's just more noticeable, I don't know.
I just think they're giving him more stuff. I mean, is it Paul Scheer?
Yeah, it
does
is.
The voice.
Paul Scheer.
He's a great voice actor. So
also, Jet made an appearance again. Lieutenant Jet came back.
Jet came.
Yep.
Captain, I made some cookies.
And
so I didn't understand that
promotion.
I didn't realize. So I thought Jet was on the other ship.
No,
I didn't realize he was on the Cerritos.
Yeah, it's implied he's always on the Cerritos, which is odd.
Okay,
because I'm pretty sure. No, she came over to their ship. Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm just thinking back to the other episodes names I can't remember. Fake fan over it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
You're trash.
It was Tendi. I'm just going to resign. I'm going to give back my Star Trek card now. Tendi and Rutherford went over to the other ship, which name I've also forgotten. Was it a Parliament class? Yeah, it was Parliament. Yeah.
That was the Vancouver.
Yeah, it was Parliament class.
Vancouver.
I just remember the class name. They went over to that, and Boimler and what's the other name? Yeah, Mariner, that's the main character. That's a show talking about. What are we talking about today?
Oh my god. What are
Is
you
this Enterprise?
over there?
How much have I drunk today? Oh dear.
We've been drinking too much.
That's vomit and whiskey. It should be illegal. That's a vomit ale, actually.
Yeah, this is Captain Jack, the impersonator. This is just an impressionist. He's doing a fantastic job.
I should have not worn the glasses. It would have been my evil clone, wouldn't it?
Yeah, terrible.
No one would recognize. Yeah, it was. Lieutenant Jet was on the Cerritos, so yeah, that makes sense.
I thought that was a cool. Yeah, that was really great. I liked that they brought him back. I like how they threw Boimler off the cliff. Like it was just so ridiculous. Like I thought that was great.
They brought back a lot of people. They brought back Admiral Vassery.
Oh yes, they did. Yeah.
Fun of for his.
The Dadmiral, I know.
No, it wasn't the dad. It was a different admiral.
It wasn't the dad.
It wasn't the dad.
No.
No, it was the one who says sensors.
Centaurs.
Was it Sensors?
Yeah, it was Sensors or something like that. So why are you making a joke of me saying Sensors? She gets demoted back to ensign.
Mariner's dad. I'm looking it up right now. I don't think you guys are right.
Are you just googling Mariner's dad? All right, chat. Who do you think's right? Type Dom and Jack or Nick.
I just watched this episode. I'm right.
Watch this episode. My name's Dominic. La, 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 la.
That's what you sound like. Okay.
Chat. Let's get a Nick or Dom and Jack. Put it into thingy.
Was it the Dadmiral or was it a different? Was it a different one?
Okay, there's a Dom there. I'm correct.
Track lad, give us a message on Twitter and I can sort that. At some point.
Dom, always Dom. Dom and Jack.
Somebody remembered I was here.
What is? I can't. So I don't even know her dad's character's actual name.
Well, he's an admiral. I can tell you that.
Well,
why don't you go to his trusty resource called Memory Alpha? And
I don't think we got.
Oh no! Everybody's saying it was you guys, so I must be wrong. Yeah. Apparently, it was Sensors.
Dom,
Sensors.
Yep.
This is you're gonna wake up in like a hot flush mood, like Sensors.
Sensors. All right. I'll admit that I was wrong.
There we go.
I'll also admit that Dom was wrong too. Dominic was also wrong.
That means I'm right then.
Unrelated to that, but he's just wrong.
Sensors.
What a sore loser.
It's warp time. Anyway. Warp me. Just warp me, all right?
Just warp me.
Just dodgy,
she did throw out the warp. It's warp me.
Oh,
yeah.
And then the really fancy warp effect.
Oh yeah, that was a reference to
had with like lightning going in between the nacelles.
I thought it was great because it was such an exaggeration, and it's obviously definitely making fun of the Kelvin movies where they're like just like and they like punch out into warp. And even when it arrived, it like punched into space, which is I think still like a Kelvin. I think they're doing that. They're obviously doing that crazier warp effect with the newer live action Star Trek, but obviously that started with the Kelvin stuff where they were really doing this punchy.
It's like pop in and out, isn't it?
Right. It's like almost like it's like just like it's shooting out of a cannon. So yeah, I thought that was really great. The lightning was really funny because it was just like this exaggerated thing. I'm surprised it didn't shoot fireworks off or something like that, or like leave like Back to the Future fire lines on top in space.
Was
like,
that the classic warp thing? I think it was in one of the Star Trek movies, or a couple of them, when it went to warp, it left like almost like color trails behind it in a way.
That was the motion picture.
It was motion picture, yeah. Because they reused it for, it's like a couple of effects, isn't it? So yeah. So he says Pike is hit it, Calvin Pike is punch it. Yeah, so it's similar things in a way. I guess it's an alternate thing. Yeah, the alternate universe, so much so that Pike changed his catchphrase.
I mean, I'm sure Prime Pike said punch it.
Probably did. He hasn't said punch it at some point.
He might have said punch it. He might have punched it.
He said it'd be extended law, case closed.
There we go.
It's beta canon.
It's in a book somewhere. It's in a book.
Yeah, hit it, punch it, kick it,
twist it. The new Star Trek merch item coming soon to America only.
Yeah. It's Pike says. Yeah, pop it, punch it, hit it.
CBS can contact us for merch ideas.
That's
CBS,
true.
If you have any merch ideas, I was going to say something else, but I'll just shut the fuck up now. Yeah, hopefully some new merch is announced soon. I would love to see what Hero Collective got up their sleeves because we've not heard anything from them anytime soon. So I'd love to see if they're announcing anything. Be interesting.
You know,
I thought Lower Decks collection was coming soon, but I'm not sure if I feel like they teased it. But
the thing is with the merchandise is, and they're doing better with the franchise right now. They're obviously really stepping up their game. Now the next thing that they really need to work on is the video games and merchandising.
Video games, please.
and video games for real. And I should be going to Target and seeing Lower Decks merchandise in the store. Like I should be seeing, the captains, and I should be seeing Mariner toys. I should be seeing where's the Badgie toy? Like what's going on here? Like where's the Badgie plush doll that I could order off, or go to Target and get it. They need to up their game a little bit in that regard to kind of continue to build awareness for the show, because people may not necessarily even know that the show exists if they're not necessarily in this realm of Star Trek stuff. We
are in a difficult position because we have this discussion probably every week at this rate, but it's like Lower Decks season 1, the unprofessional way of saying it has been shafted in a manner of speaking, because without its international deal, it's losing out there. So that has obviously harmed merchandise in a way. We say that, however, we've still got fan sets producing badges, etc. You know, as a private company, they're not like CBS launched, etc. So it's up to them how they market their content outside of what CBS dictates it. We've got Hero Collector, who may be doing some Lower Deck stuff. They've not confirmed it yet, apart from subtly teasing it at DST one year, I believe.
Yeah.
Then also we've got, what else we got? We've got the Lower Decks t-shirts, which Titmouse are doing. However, that's an online thing only. You're not going to find this in store because they're limited edition.
That's from their studio.
And StarTrek.com have their own shop, which is selling stuff which will never be in store because it's it's like the Star Trek, it's like the official Disney stuff. You will find that on it, but it's really difficult because we compare it to Star Wars in a way, which has always been marketed the shit out of, which is a professional way to say that one. And they've always had merchandise. Star Trek, on the other hand, has done a little bit, but not to that scale. So it's really like where and when. But also, I come down to these days. I mean, you may be different, Nick or Dom, but I find myself not buying that much merch. And maybe it's just I'm getting older now. Like I'm 21 now, going 22. I find myself trying to restrict how much stuff I buy in terms of merch, just because it'll just sit on a shelf and I won't look at it. Right now, in terms of Star Trek merchandise, I have about probably 10 Hero Collector ships, just for the ones I like, apart from ones people get me.
I just bought another Hero Collector.
Which one did you buy?
The Bortes Coup, the Klingon flagship.
Oh, thank you.
Star Trek Online.
Oh, it's the Star Trek Online one, was it?
Yes.
See, I wanted to get this. I mean, I got the Odyssey for Star Trek Online because I really wanted that one, and I got the Titan as well. Those are iconic ships. Shut up! I see you sighing over there.
Oh my god!
My two favorite ships. Fuck you. So rude. And I got some of the special ones, but I don't know. I don't buy merch stuff anymore, so I don't feel the need to.
Yeah, I mean. I get what you're saying, and this, I think there's like a line. I think that Star Trek is too restrictive with their merchandising, whereas like Star Wars is too, like, just over the top with it. Like, why do they have Kylo Ren sponsoring, baby carrots at Walmart? Like, it's fucking, like, it's weird. Yeah, like, it's weird, right? Like, why are these BB-8 themed toilet paper? Like, what is this? It's not even, it's just regular toilet paper and you just put BB-8 on the front of it. Like, I don't understand. Like, what is this? So like they go over the top with it, whereas I think Star Trek could do a little bit more.
If there was Shaq's toilet paper, they would have run out by now.
I mean, Shaq's toilet paper would just be sandpaper. You open it up and it's just rough and coarse and irritating.
I mean, it
gets everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, maybe they don't need to necessarily go brick and mortar. I'm just using that as an example of like me walking into Target and seeing something. Maybe not brick and mortar, but I feel like there should have been a bit more of scaling available. Because like even like the Titmouse t-shirts, like those were obviously officially licensed through Star Trek and they're ones working it. And you can sign up for the t-shirt thing, or you could just order the t-shirts now individually, because I think all the programs for, doing the subscription thing is sold out now. But I like, that's kind of cool. Like, that's good that they have something, but I feel like there should be, like, they knew Badgie was coming. Like, they knew that was coming. Like, why not be like, you like Badgie, come out and check out the Badgie pin, the plush, the t-shirt, the toy,
if there was a Badgie plush, I would buy that. Like, that is one stupid thing I buy.
Me too.
I like the random merch stuff you can occasionally buy. Like, I find that stuff hilarious, and I'll happily buy it because it's hilarious. But yeah, going to video games quickly, we have a discussion before, and we've said like always a Mass Effect style Star Trek video game would work well. Don't just put in the chat there, Star Trek Armada 3. I feel like that now could be a really good time to have a game like that. Nick, have you played Armada before?
Well, I mean, of course, and I've also played, of course, the Sins
we should
mod
do
for it, and the Stellaris one, which is essentially just New Horizons.
We should do like a stream of that sometime in the year. Could be a good idea when there's nothing on.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, and it's a great game, and now is the time for it. Like, we really do need a new Star Trek game, and not a mobile game.
Yeah,
a fucking actual game.
Maybe it's different for like different people in different environments. I very rarely play mobile game. The only mobile game I play is if I'm sat somewhere with no internet. I will play Crossy Road, which is still installed on my iPhone. I don't know why it's on there. I don't know who put it on there. It's still on there for some reason. I'll play it, but we really could do with a new Star Trek game that's not mobile, and maybe they're waiting. We are currently witnessing. We are currently witnessing Star Trek going in a new frontier. Essentially, we're seeing the international rollout of Paramount Plus, which is coming next year. Now we could be sat here next year having a discussion and seeing like maybe a game studio's been given an exclusive license, like EA was awarded the Star Wars license. Paramount could do a similar thing where go right. BioWare, for example, I know they're under EA as well. You've got the Star Trek license, make us a game in the next 5 years, and they're tasked with doing that. Or, for all we know, a game could be in production, but honestly, I don't think it is. My knowledge of the game industry tells me it isn't. We've got an FPS VR game, as TJ just reminded me. Well, we have a VR game, but that's only an experience. Star Trek Bridge Crew wasn't the best. It's a good, fun game, But I don't know why Ubisoft haven't like spent more money on it in a way. But nothing's coming.
I would say, going from someone in chat who said Starfleet uniforms in Animal Crossing, sorry, just even these small little things would go a long way. Like, here's a Sims pack.
Yeah, that would...
You get some building props and some uniforms.
Yeah,
you're sorted. So we don't. I mean, I would like a full new like Armada and whatever, but I would perfectly be. I mean, I don't play Sims. I would probably get Sims to if it had.
Oh yeah, we'd mess around with it.
Right. Yeah. Right, absolutely.
But let's also think about that. Whenever we see, like, take Star Wars, for example, if we rewind back, I compare that because it is like the franchise to compare Trek to in a way.
Yeah.
If we rewind back to last year when the Rise of Skywalker came out, Fortnite, that's one of the biggest games in the world at the time, and still kind of is, they had a complete Star Wars theme in there. Yes, Star Trek is not to the scale and perhaps doesn't appeal to those same audiences, but the minute Alex Kurtzman and execs have said they want to get younger people into Star Trek, of people of all ages into Star Trek, why not put like a couple of skins into a game like that or something? Star Trek isn't just about TV, and I think sometimes CBS or Paramount don't realize that, or whoever's like, you know, high up on the board or the food chain, they don't realize that, you know, Trek's audience isn't on TV anymore. I mean, you're running a streaming service, you should probably know that, to be honest. Trek's audience is everywhere, not just in America. They're international. They're on their phones, Twitter, out in the streets. Yeah. Because everyone, you can be an audience of something no matter where you are right now. You don't have to be, you know, middle-aged and having a TV set. Those days have gone now. You don't have to do that. So why, you know, advertising is still restricted to short thing, or, you know, to like old ways, it does bewilder me in a way. Teacher says it's time for a VR short trek. VR viewed narrative films still not hit. I mean, I could say Star Wars again. Star Wars did something called Vader Immortal, where we did a whole VR story experience, which is fantastic. Gave it a chance to play it. It's on the Oculus Quest and now the Oculus Rift S and PlayStation VR. It's fantastic. Something like that in Star Trek could be well. I'm thinking like walking through a Discovery like game or something like that, or Season 3.
I mean, just like what was it? Stage 9.
Yeah, that was a fantastic thing.
Stage 9.
That was a fantastic thing. If they could officially license that, and it's just, you don't need to do much. You just need to walk around the Enterprise D, and it's like fine.
You know, if they sold that for 10 or 15 quid, I guarantee you hundreds of people would buy, thousands of people would buy that. Even legacy fans would buy that because they would go, what, I can walk around the Enterprise, my iconic ship that I grew up with, in VR, sit at the captain, visit Picard's flute and his fish. Hell yeah. You know, I'd buy that for Christ's sakes, just to stare at the fucking out the window. But it's like, sorry, as you say, Nick, I'm ranting on.
No, I was going to say, Trek Lad actually just put up a comment here. He says, I don't think recent Trek games have fared well commercially, as I recall. The Kelvin games were disastrous. And that is true. The Kelvin video game, especially the 2009 one, was terribly. A disaster. Just a disaster.
It was Catch-22 because that game was developed horrendously in a way. Because it came out and it was a buggy piece of mess. So naturally, it's like we've seen games before. And unless the game developers take time to actually repair their game, it's not going to get any better. Look at No Man's Sky. That had a disastrous launch. And also Battlefront 2 as well. Both two games that were horrendous when they came out. Battlefront 2 and both No Man's Sky have now fully recovered because the developers went, fuck it, we'll stick with it and make it good. I'm pretty sure that Star Trek 2009 game didn't go anywhere. They released it, did about 2 bug patches. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. And
no, you're right. It was a different time where games as a service still wasn't really a construct yet. This is a pre-Destiny time frame there, but I would say, like, as the franchise died in the Berman era, you know, with Enterprise, so too then really the video games dropped off. Like, they stopped producing video games, and really just, I think, like, books kind of continued on, but that was really the only media that we had for Trek content. And then when 2009 came out, they were like, oh yeah, we're going to do merch, we're going to do a video game, we're going to do a movie. And the merch was fine. Like, I don't think anybody really had any problems with the merch. And the movie, obviously 2009, is debatable if you like it or not, whatever. But the video game in particular did very, very poorly, which I think makes them very cautious about it. But I think it's time. I think we're at the point now where we need to circle back and they need to produce a new Star Trek game and give us something more. I don't think Star Trek Online, and I think it's been like this for a while, but they can't hold it down anymore. They just can't. The game is aging.
They're trying to push for it. Admittedly, well done. It's a 10-year support now for that game, so well done to them. However, the most latest up-to-date Star Trek game for PC would be Star Trek Bridge Crew, which is 2017. It had a DLC update in 2018-19 with Next Gen. That's available on Windows and PlayStation 4. Star Trek Adversaries was coming. However, it was discontinued as of 2019. In terms of console Bridge Crew, mobile Fleet Command 2018. After that is nothing. It ends there. No new games announced, absolutely nothing. So
brings up an interesting point, which is remasters of some of the old games.
This could work as well.
Water.
Yeah, it does come with complications of doing that, though. As we see with the Star Wars license, like a lot of us always wanted Empire War, for those who know it, to be remastered. However, it appears that cannot be done. Oh, it could be done, but it's up to like the studios who do it. And if Paramount, if a developer makes a game, they may no longer hold the license for that, etc., or whatever. So it becomes like a complicated mess. So I would be surprised if you see like a remake of it at the end of the day or something like that. But hopefully we're going to see more Star Trek games in the future. I feel now, and maybe we'll have this conversation next year, that more stuff will come about. So, we're seeing Paramount International rollout. It's evidently clear in a way that there is some behind-the-scenes plan at, Secret Hideout, CBS, etc., where Trek is going. And we know they've got the international relations team, or whatever it's called. I always get the name wrong. That development team they set up with Veronica, whatever she was being the head of it. That is their was it a franchise group or whatever it was? That's set
Star
up.
Trek the global franchise group.
The key global being the name there. They're obviously spearheading what we do. So it makes sense. Let's get all our content international first, then merchandise usually comes after that. Trek is in for a long form plan. I will happily bet money on Alex Kurtzman's contract being renewed at this rate, given the success of it. If you don't think it's successful, you're evidently looking at a rock or something, or just not taking in facts and key information, of which you should probably do your own research into and not listen to other people. But hey ho, it's going to be extended. I'm just saying, it's blatantly obvious at this point.
I agree. I would be so surprised if if they're clearly in a marathon. They're not in a race. They're definitely engaged in a marathon pace. And it's actually very smart of CBS to do this, because it's not even just with Star Trek they're doing this, but they're doing it with their other shows and kind of their flagship all access shows, like the Twilight Zone, the Good Wife, or whatever the fuck that one's called, the spinoff to the Good Wife, the Good Lawyers, or whatever it is.
I don't know.
Star Trek stuff. Like they're clearly thinking to themselves, like, how do we develop a library of things that's not only boosting up numbers now, but is going to keep people subscribed so they can continue to come back years afterwards and continue to watch more content. So they're in a marathon mentality, and that is great news for Star Trek, because even if a show or a season of one of the shows doesn't perform as well as maybe some of the other ones, to them it doesn't really matter, because they're looking at it from a perspective of what kind of content library are we building over the next 15, 20 years that's going to set us up to be just a premier streaming service that people will want to subscribe to, or potentially even if Paramount Plus completely fails, they now have these extraordinarily dense catalogs that they can then sell off as packages to these other more successful services if they want to go that route in the future. So yeah, they're thinking way down the line, more so than the rest of us are, which is great. It's very smart of them, instead of thinking like a Fox where they cancel everything after the first episode if it doesn't do like amazing numbers,
Netflix,
so they're definitely
as well.
Yeah, Netflix is on that boat now as well, and so so they're thinking of it very, very differently, which is smart, and I think is going to help out Star Trek. On the books right now we have at least another 3 years of Trek content. Already guaranteed, guaranteed Trek content for the next 3 years.
Well, you think about it, let's just quickly name it off the top of the head. We've got Strange New Worlds coming soon, so that is obviously probably going to take place, I'd say now, 2022, I'm going to guess on. What are we holding thumbs up for? Oh, sorry.
We're counting.
I'm holding my thumb up off screen.
We both did it at the same time, too, which was
I'm also holding my
great.
thumb up off screen here. I was like, what the fuck's... How do you know I'm doing that? What? So where's this camera gone? So we've got Strange New Worlds. We've got Section 31. It's confirmed. Whether it's still coming, another debate for another day. We have Discovery Season 4 and 5. We have Picard Season 2. We've got Star Trek Prodigy. We've got one unconfirmed live action show, which has been mentioned, but it's still out there. No clue what that is. Could be God knows what. I'm not going to speculate what it is, because some people get carried away in my DMs. What else have we got off the top of our head? So we've got Discovery, Picard,
Prodigy. Yep, Prodigy.
Prodigy, Lower Decks. I forgot to mention that. No, you put one finger down. Strange New Worlds.
7.
Yeah, 7, isn't it?
You messed it up. Strange New World.
Yeah.
Picard. Discovery.
Lower Decks.
Section 31. Lower Decks. Did I say Prodigy already?
No, you've said it already. How much have you drunk?
Prodigy, and then the unnamed live action show.
Yeah, so 7 shows. At least 7. At least 7. Yeah. So
and then
technically,
short tracks.
Technically, yeah, you can chuck in possible short tracks as well. So we've practically got 8 productions in their own right coming up. There's also rumors of films supposedly around, but that's obviously God knows what's going on over there, to be honest. I have a hard time keeping up to date with film news because the film news is like a light switch relationship. It's constantly on and off every 5 minutes. One week it's like, I'm doing a film, next week we're not doing a film. Then somebody else comes and doing a film. It's like, for God's sakes, make up your mind.
Well, I mean, honestly, to me, what that's registering as, other than the fact that obviously they had that issue where Noah Hawley's script dealt with a pandemic situation, which obviously they gotta restructure that. But I really do feel like if you listen, because like Hawley's been like all over the place doing pressers for other stuff that he's working on, so he keeps getting asked the question. But if you listen, if you really read his responses, it very much reads to me as though they are actively trying to see what the interest level is. And they're trying to gauge what they should be doing, because they keep going back of Kelvin, not Kelvin, previous cast, not previous cast, and they're kind of like all over the place with what they're saying. I think it's because they're just trying to gauge audience interaction on the topic, because they don't really know what to do yet. Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, Beyond didn't perform the best, so naturally, any smart business person is going to try and gauge, is the next one going to be worth us spending the money? And when you discuss business, it is a no-brainer in a way. You do not want to shove God knows how much money into something for it not to get paid off, because then you can look like a smuck at the end of the day, really, aren't you? It's like, so you spent how much and you lost how much? Well,
and it also wouldn't hurt them to be a bit more restrictive with it. Like, I don't need, like, look at the Wrath of Khan. Like, obviously, budgets are different nowadays, and costs are much different nowadays, and the visuals and stuff like that. But when you look at it from just like a story point element, not a whole lot of action is happening in there. It's probably one of the more action-oriented original series movies. Even looking at it's very low key in terms of what actually happens. Like, they could do a simple story, like, look, even The Voyage Home, which definitely dealt with a lot of different things, but they went and did like a simple little time travel story, and it was just kind of like this cutesy little thing. Like, maybe go at it with a budget that's like 75 million or something, and kind of force the creative team to come up with ideas in order to put something that looks good on camera for a Star Trek universe for a very small budget, so that they reduce their risk. And if it happens to make $300-400 million, then I mean, that's just great, and it's a huge profit. It doesn't need to be like, what was the budget for like The Rise of Skywalker? Like $275 million.
Something stupid.
Some fucking crazy number like that. Like, it doesn't have to be that. And obviously they charge Star Wars. Production companies charge Disney more for things than they charge other people. But if they're able to make it work, then they should try to make that work. And I think they're going to be able to maybe work something out, because they're building that new soundstage in Pinewood up there in Vancouver, right? They're building that whole thing up there.
Yeah.
CBS owns all, that. CBS is going to be owning a lot of that. They're already renting out a lot of the space up there. They have a lot of stuff set up already up there. Like, they could do a lot of different things with a lot of different pre-existing equipment and props and shit like that, and just doing redresses or whatever. I mean, that's not even unheard of. I mean, we had, what was it? Was it Undiscovered Country, where they were like, they just had like actors standing in front of the set pieces because it was clearly filmed on the bridge, or the engineering room of Next Generation or whatever. They tried to like make it look like the old school Enterprise. Like, we've done it before, so we could do it again. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I think Star Trek fans just want a solid story, and not, I mean, that's what they keep saying. Like, turn down the visuals, turn down the hypertensive action, and give us a better story with good characters. And you can do that with a smaller production budget. And I think even giving them a smaller budget would force the creative team to actually make that a reality, as opposed to being like, well, we've got $200 million. Why don't we just have the Enterprise just smash into a fucking moon or whatever? You know what I mean? Or build a snow globe space station in space. Why are we doing this? I don't know, but we're going to do it. And I love Star Trek Beyond, but it's like, how much fucking money did that thing cost? And yeah, it looks cool as shit and it's awesome, but it's like, how much of the budget could you have taken out of that movie to just be like, this is just a planet? Like, you know what? It would have been done nothing. Nothing would have changed. It would have just been like, it's an outpost on a planet, and they just filmed in fucking backwater California.
Yeah, you could probably put like the same planetary shields that like Vashti had in Picard,
right?
And it would cost way less than this. I mean, they were going for this elaborate space station to show how far the Federation went, but you can have an elaborately.
Right, you don't need it. You don't need it.
Yeah, but it seems like that with Paramount Plus, they're looking at more just like streaming platform like movies, which would be much lower in scale and therefore budget.
We've also heard
We've
heard the rumor or suggestion, and it's gone around the fan a bit before, of basically like episode long short treks. So like the short treks or standalone short treks in a way that are like 40 minutes to an hour long. Adventures like that is essentially almost like a mini movie in a way. An hour practically these days can be a mini movie in a way. You can get a lot of content in an hour. So it's like whether we start seeing stuff like that, and Paramount Plus could be a way for that. And Netflix can do movies, and so other streaming platforms have tried it. So something could be done. It just depends on the cost. Also, cost of production can be a bit cheaper these days. If we compare to Star Wars again, I think that's my new favorite thing to talk about all the time. Mandalorian was filmed digitally in a way. The majority of it was filmed on a set using digital reproduction, etc. And I highly suggest if you're interested in filmmaking, lighting, soundstage, any of that, go take a look at how they film a Mandalorian. As the way they did that saved Lucasfilm a lot of money, but also reduced their carbon footprint as well, as it was a lot cheaper on the environment. So there's pros and cons there. Sean Casey, thank you for your $5 donation. Smaller budget would have made the fleet scene in the last episode of Picard much more realistic. You're right. Wrath of Khan was much better story than the motion picture. Yeah, I mean, smaller budget, it depends really. I would be interested to see a budget breakdown of that fleet scene, because technically your budget would be cheap if you just copy and paste the same asset, really. You're not actually designing each individual asset for each ship. Because they would have probably had to redesign assets to use on it anyway. So I'm not sure. Right. But then again, they could probably... It depends, really. Because I remember listening to Ben from Hero Collector said this before on how like certain things are assetted or archived when it comes to Trek models. Because Hero Collector have had trouble finding certain models and CGI assets to recreate the ships from, and how he basically had to dive into Star Trek archives to go and find it. We should really get Ben on chat about that at some point. But it depends. They may, if they wanted to feature like Voyager or the Sovereign in the end of Picard, they might have had to dig up these assets and recreate the whole thing, at which point that's going to be a hell of expensive to recreate a whole Sovereign model and then shoot it from multiple angles. Yes, a fan can do it, but it's a bit different. But I do agree with you, we should have had something different at the end of Picard there. It would have been nice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that for sure. And I think that it's... I think if done correctly.
But
you disagree, do you?
We'll
really
leave that because it's not the stream to talk about Picard.
You're just going to drop that one and piss off, are you?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, all right.
You sip your gin, Dominic, and shut off.
I know. Jeez, he gets a new place to live now. I think so. You could just.
You've not got anything in that glass.
Yeah, that was a little.
No,
I just did it for the effect.
Lying
he was
bitch.
Just drinking. He was drinking up her anger, is what he was doing.
He was drinking up the salt and tears. So as we sort to round off this stream, let's talk about episode 10 and what we think is going to happen in Lower Decks. Yeah. First question I have for both of you, starting with Nick: do you think episode 10 is going to be a cliffhanger or a two-part season final? Bear in mind, the Next Generation was very famous for doing this and ending its seasons on cliffhanger finals, etc. Particularly the Best of Both Worlds being one of the famous ones, and Descent also being a famous one as well. I think Descent wasn't it? Descent a season final or not? No, it wasn't actually. I'm thinking it was a different one. Was it? I can't remember. To be honest, off the top of my head. But to answer your question, yeah. So I don't think we're going to get a Best of Both Worlds style epic cliffhanger. I think that there's going to be a tease cliffhanger where I think the majority of the episode's plot will be resolved, and in the last couple of minutes, something's going to occur, and then that will tease us for the next season.
So kind of that's like what I think. Discovery season 1 cliffhanger.
Kind of like that. I think a little bit more than just the Enterprise is showing up, but something's going to happen where it's going to be like, oh, and then they're just going to, then they're going to switch it off, and then it'll be like, fuck, we got to wait a year. But that's what I think. I don't think it's going to be a full blown, and that is based off a little bit of the preview for episode 10, where it's got like the Exo comp, which I have behind me, and it looks like we're going to have some jokes going on between Boimler and Mariner about, him finding out that, Captain Freeman's her mom and stuff. So I feel like we're going to get a lot of resolution to the episode's arc, but there's going to be something that happens at the end. I wonder. That is going to be something different.
I'm going to let Dom answer first what he thinks. But before I do that, Sarah, thank you for $5 donation saying just because Star Trek. Dom, your thoughts on what we expect from episode 10 before I give you my thoughts.
So I think the only thing which I remember from the trailers, which we haven't seen at all, is some aliens beaming in and boarding the ship. And Jack Ransom saying like, I'm setting my arms to stun and my kicks to kill, or something like that. My original opinion on how it would deal with like a cliffhanger was it was gonna give us a cliffhanger, and then next season it'll be like, yeah, that was resolved. Okay, let's move on. But I was listening to another live stream. I think it was one of Treklad's live streams where he was like, "It's gonna have a cliffhanger, and it's gonna be like to be continued, and then it will just continue in the episode."
You start
so,
right at
it's
the
like
start
halfway through, there's a cliffhanger, and then it's like to be continued now, and then it just continues. I think that would be great as well.
That would be funny. Yeah.
I think something which seems like a Lower Deck style cliffhanger will happen. And if it does happen, we'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense for this show. So, yeah, I think that's my answer of what I expect in terms of cliffhangers to happen. But in terms of the story, I have no idea.
Before I give you my answer, thank you to Starfleet Boy, who's donated $10 and says, just a note of thank you for a great fun stream. I have to bounce, but I hope this helps you buy a refreshing drink, a beverage of your choice. Thank you very much. It may do or it may not, but we'll let you know, and you can see how that turns out on Thursday, won't we, Nick?
Yes.
My thoughts on episode 10. Now, bear in mind, we spent the whole season running around the fact and detail that Mariner is the daughter of Captain Freeman. Now, in episode 9, Boimler found that out. In episode 10, he seems to be teasing Mariner about that. Do we reckon we're going to get a situation where something's going to happen to Captain Freeman in a way to make Mariner appreciate her even more? Or something a bit? It just occurred in my mind, like whether something's going to happen there, or like, you know, perhaps Captain Freeman's going to be put at risk, etc. Maybe boarding aliens, they kidnap her mum, etc. I don't know, something like that. It could be pretty interesting. I just feel like something that's going to happen around that. I mean, it may not happen, but I don't know. It's just before it just occurred to me.
From the teasers, the trailers, it looks like Freeman is the most injured out of the party as the ship's been boarded. She's got like part of her uniform ripped and like some blood and stuff. So it could be that either she's kidnapped or they're targeting her for some reason.
Potentially.
And I think that would be actually a good way to show how much Mariner has really grown throughout this first season. You know, we kind of get that in this episode with her, you know, saying, "Hey, sorry I gave you such a hard time," to her mom, which is a big development.
Big issue.
But,
yeah,
you know,
for sure.
You can go further. And I think that'd be good. So,
yeah.
I mean,
interesting.
I was going to say is like, there's an opportunity there, I think, for as Boimler is kind of poking fun at the situation, as the episode continues, there's a situation where Mariner has to save her mother or something, and then that's how it's kind of revealed to the other Lower Decks crew that that's her mom or whatever, and it kind of increases the stakes of them saving her or supporting the captain or whatever it is in that regard, to kind of have a little bit more of a serious moment there, and then kind of cut it back in with the comedy piece of Lower Decks. There's definitely something there for sure. I'm very excited to see what they're doing here. I'm
super excited as well. Like Lower Decks, you know, it's had a fantastic season 1. So what it's going to offer, you know, for the rest of the season, or, you know, for the last episode, and then season 2 is going to be very good. I'm definitely looking forward to season 2 as well. Like I say, it's going to be probably a year before we see that roughly, unless they speedline it, because, you know, they brought forward Lower Decks season 1 to air earlier than expected. It's possible season 2. I mean, we know Mike McCann finished writing season 2 as of like episode 6 or 7, I believe. So they could well be in production right now. Developing and animating Lower Decks and producing it is a lot different than shooting a live action show. A lot of work can be done from home.
Fast forwarded the process.
Yeah.
Because they said like they hardly had anything in March apart from like really basic animatics.
And then they fast forward the whole thing.
They fast forward it
through
so it could come before Discovery. So considering production for live action won't start until, well, has kind of already started, but
yeah,
it's going to go full production in next month or whatever.
Speaking about production for live action, we know that Discovery is in some capacity of shooting for season 4, thanks to a lovely signpost somebody conveniently left outside of Pinewood. Well done, everyone.
Yeah.
Great one on hiding that one. CBS, you continue.
Super secret. Super secret. And then also Wilson Cruz, like, taking a selfie on set or something. Whatever the fuck he's going to do next week, you know.
Doug Jones, his fitness trainer, casually tweeting it as well. It's like, Alex Kurtzman might as well just... You know, if anyone's watched Overwatch here, Jeff Kaplan does those streams at Christmas where he just sits there in front of a fire and doesn't say anything. Alex Kurtzman should do one of those where he's just nonchalantly eating an apple on his desk for 12 hours, and then his last thing he just unwraps a picture of that sign that just says Discovery season 4, and the stream just ends there.
CBS,
if you're watching, he just pulls it up. Someone just hands it to him. He's like, "Oh, fucking hell!" And just puts it away. Goes back to eating the apple. CBS, I don't know who the hell's in charge of marketing, but please do that. I will email Monday morning, and I will look forward to seeing that aired at Christmas. It'd be hilarious to watch.
They need to lean into the trolling.
Embrace it. Just absolutely fucking run with it. Running social media and having fun with current events is hilarious because it'll work really well. And I can imagine people getting wound up at Kurtzman streaming for 12 hours and not doing anything. It'd be hilarious. It's like an Overwatch used to. It's like announcing our new hero. Stream cuts out and ends. It's like, well done, guys. You just baited half the internet.
Yep, that's right.
That would be hilarious, though.
That would be.
So yeah, I think that's everything for Lower Decks today, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
I think we did it.
So a couple of reminders, everyone. Star Trek is coming down to New York Comic Con later this coming week. And this is Thursday, October 8th, I mean. The date is literally in front of me and I said 7th. It's 8th at 12 p.m. PM ET. There we go, not PT. And then 9 a.m. PT. There you go. We can speak English, everyone. We'll be live streaming from that day at 4:30 p.m. BST. There we go. It's another time zone. So if you want to come along and watch and react with the news and information with us, come here to Trek Central Live. The announcement will be up later in the week, so you can remind it and set it in your calendars, etc. We look forward to seeing you there, and we'll be sharing our thoughts before and after the stream. So come along, and we hope to discuss it with you. If you can't watch, don't worry, because maybe you're stuck in work, school, college, whatever. We'll be live tweeting it, and also doing a highlight video later on in the evening, if not on Friday. So make sure you keep up to date. We're expecting news from Star Trek Lower Decks, Discovery, and potentially Star Trek Prodigy, and more. Yep. We'll check back later in the week and let you know. We should have a video coming and preparing on that if you need any more details, where and when you can actually watch this. Visit, of course, youtube.com/NYCC and also findthemetaverse.com. We'll include those links in our incoming video and tweet them out in the week should you need them. As a final reminder, Star Trek or Destination Star Trek in the UK, the UK convention for all things Trek, has been cancelled and moved to 2021. Make sure to keep that in mind if you were planning on going. Your ticket should be refunded. If not, I believe they are transferred to next year. Yeah. Gents, it's been a pleasure and a privilege this evening. I don't think I'm forgetting anything.
Nope.
Okay, so thank you, Nick and Dom, for joining me. We'll be back next week for episode 10 of Star Trek Lower Decks. Live long and prosper, boys! See you later, everyone. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.